clearly this resonated with people,
Hmm.
clearly over time, like somehow this explanation, I don't know, rang true to people.
Hmm.
And that's why it completely replaced the original explanation of the 16 bladed sword of God,
Hmm.
and even the Mishnah Berurah's explanation of Shem Hashem, or that the Egyptians are being diminished, which is interesting. I mean, something happened to the psyche of Am Yisrael, that they have this kind of an attitude was considered to be appropriate. But again, we have to mention that it caught on mostly in America and
Yeah. So
not as much in Israel.
I have two
Yeah,
questions. One is it's fascinating that it actually sprouts in Germany, but it doesn't really take root until America. And
right,
I'm not really surprised about World War II because that was definitely a time where Jews,
right,
they felt very
yeah,
accepted and definitely
right.
wanted to become
America
part.
and all
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, and I know you mentioned in America, English language Haggadot in America. Were there, what about English Haggadot in England or other Anglophonic countries? Was it as early? Was it later?
Yeah, I found a little bit that it made it into also British Haggadot and
Hmm.
even some French Haggadot. I was
Hmm.
able to find that it spread over there,
Oh wow!
but it
But a little bit
really,
later, probably a
yeah, a
little bit
little bit
later.
later, and it didn't have the same like steamroller impact. You
Hmm.
know that like it basically dominates in America. It becomes the dominant kind of an approach.
Uh-huh.
And even to the degree that you look to get today, I just looked, for example, today in an Israeli Haggadah, contemporary one,
Yeah.
and there they gave the traditional thing that the Egyptians are diminished.
Huh.
So even today, it didn't make those inroads,
Wow.
and I think that if you hang around in Israel and you ask like real Israelis about it, they're I don't know if they're necessarily going to have this diminished joy interpretation.
Wow.
But the
So
thing
it's
is,
really so it really
yeah,
primarily took root in the last 80, 90 years, specifically in America.
specifically in America, right? It
Wow.
trickles into other places, but it's really, and I'll tell you, I think a gigantic from interacting with students about this.
Mm.
Also, it becomes the explanation in the Art Scroll Children's Haggadah,
Mm.
and there seems to be now these teenagers who grew up on that Haggadah, and
Wow.
that's their point of reference too. So there's like a coming up with this. But I'll tell you, listen, I'm not saying it's a good explanation. There's a lot of explanations. You get whatever you want, and that's part of what Haggadahs are.
Yeah.
Every generation you see yourself coming out of Egypt, you take your own spin on it, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is that it's not a PC thing. Like it, Rabbi Low in the 1800s was not a PC guy. He was not a
Mm.
PC rabbi. He was involved in fights against Hasidim. He was involved in dealing with early Zionism. He was involved in the neologues. He fought with people. He was he was a tough customer. He's not like some sort of walking around with a guitar singing peace and love.
Yeah.
But again, he said this is reflective of the mercy of the Jewish people, which is interesting because I think that he was right in the sense that because we're so merciful, everyone loves this explanation. Like that,
Mm.
that's what because of that whole concept.